link?
To share on.
To share. Yeah. Send it to me on WhatsApp.
All right. What's up, everybody? We just got started. We have a very, very special guest today. Very special guest. He's actually a Bronze Star Army veteran. He did combat, and just excited to have him, Mr. Eugene Kuhn. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Kuhn. Yeah.
Kuhn.
Close enough.
Nice, man. Nice. So before we get into occupied Iran and the genocide that may come very soon, a genocidal psychopath, Ali Khamenei, if you could, so you served in Iraq, right? You were in the military and then you got into business. If you could just let our audience know as we get started here.
Yeah. So, I joined the military when I was 19, got shipped to Fort Knox to boot camp, went to Germany, spent 6.5 years in the military there during the Cold War. The wall came down, then the war started in Iraq or in Kuwait. They sent me to Iraq. I spent 6 months there. And from there, I just went, I stayed in Germany after I got out. And, I just started doing things. I opened a bar, then another bar, a cocktail bar, wrote a book, got on TV, MTV VJ, opened up a corporation, bought and sold companies. And just through the time, I started working in politics in Germany, then in Europe, then in Croatia, then in the UK. And I got involved is what I did. And that's sort of the premise behind what I've started now with Take America Back. And everything just came together recently from all of those 37 years of experience living in 10 countries. It's now is the time to get started, I guess, to use all that experience and that, agglomerate it and bring it back to America.
My wife is German, so I got a home there in 2020. And but I'm mostly here. I'm mostly here now in the United States. But I do go. I go back in March, for example. And the only Americans I ever find there in Germany are generally guys that work in the military in Klassenstadt. Yeah. I know you probably know exactly where that is. The big military base, and also defense contractors. So
a lot of them.
I don't meet too many Americans, but so you were in Germany, right?
Yeah, I spent 13 years as a civilian in Germany, ran a couple corporations, my own companies, bought and sold things, worked in, like I said, politics. I'm we founded the Civil Coalition of Germany with Beatrix and Sven von Storch, who now run the part of the AfD in Germany. And our Civil Coalition morphed into the AfD, which is now the most popular party in Germany. So I've been in politics for a while, and also a little advising the American government. I was selected by Rebecca Mercer for the Trump transition team in 2016. That then fell through as an advisor to Europe or something. I don't know. It just fell through. And I've always been dabbling in politics. And recently, since the Ukrainian war broke out, because my wife is Ukrainian, people have been asking me for some sort of knowledge, and it just sort of fired itself back up again. And I just got back into it and started doing videos. Next thing you know, here we are.
Okay, yeah, man. So man, AfD, that's pretty impressive. They were laughed at in North Rhine-Westphalia. I have my home in Bochum, and now I remember telling people like, no, AfD is going to get successful, man. They're like, no, you don't know it. You're not German. I'm not German, and honestly, I don't meddle too much in that because I'm clearly not German. But it's I do hope they get their country back. I mean, this last Christmas market I was there, man, the amount of police that they had in the Christmas market. And what was even more bizarre was the people that I would speak to, they didn't even fear it. They didn't fear the thought of migrants coming and attacking them. It was almost like an oblivience. But then again, that's a pretty leftist, liberal, woke area that I have my home. It's like San Francisco or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of Germans that are clinging on to the past and saying, no. You got to remember the mentality all the way up through the Cold War until the Cold War ended is Germans had to be nice. Otherwise, they'd be immediately labeled a Nazi. And so there's this fear of being too harsh, being too critical, being too, rude, being ausländerfeindlich, as feindlich, as they say, rude against foreigners. So no one really says anything. Behind closed doors, it's a different story. I don't know of any German that it isn't fearful of it because it's happened. You don't have to love it. You don't have to like it, be for it or be against it. Look at the facts. Look at the numbers. I mean, when the police change the laws to say when someone gets raped or murdered or robbed, you're no longer supposed to put the nationality of the person committing the crime on the police report. And that's what they did in Germany, because they don't want people to know where the people are coming from who are committing the crime. So they don't put where they come from anymore. Crazy. That's an obvious sign. That's not anyone being phobic. That's just a fact.
Yeah. So like, for example, like a lot of my wife is pretty liberal, man. So I just so full disclosure, she's German. I mean, and for her to say what I'm about to tell you tells you how far we've gone from like 2 years back in Germany, before we get into Iran. And it's even my wife will say to you, yeah, like those pro-Palestinian protests are mostly like migrants. They're not actually Germans. And that's my wife saying that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like that's like, so like those migrants in Germany, it's not just that they hate Israel or they maybe hate the United States. They truly like come from countries where that KGB 1970s Soviet propaganda, has so indoctrinated them. That KGB stuff indoctrinated them so much that they hate Israel with such passion. Then they come to Germany and they just pump it, bro. They're just so hateful. But it's not just the Jews, it's it's not, because that KGB propaganda was not just at Israel as Zionist, as racist. It's also America as imperialistic. It's undermining, Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, looking at immigration was a big deal in Germany because after the Second World War, all the men were pretty much dead, and so they had massive amounts of Turks and massive amounts of Italians that came to help rebuild the country. And a lot of those Turks stayed. Not so many Italians, some did, but mostly Turks stayed. So they had the largest population outside of Turkey of Turks in Berlin, and they were always the bad foreigners. And then comes 2015, 16, when all of the migration came, millions, that flipped everything. Now you have the Turks in Germany who are now second, third, and fourth generation going like, wow, what the heck's going on here? And people are now focusing on, good Lord, what's going on? Because they're not assimilating. You know the deal. Infiltrate, populate, dominate, never assimilate, caliphate, and then Sharia law. There's in your region, in Nordrhein-Westfalen, they have Sharia police running around.
Wow.
They have Sharia police running around in Germany, in Turkey, in Islamic areas that are enforcing Sharia law. Incredible. And it's happening and they're letting it go. Why don't they do this in their own countries? Because they're not tolerated. The Muslim Brotherhood and extreme Islamists, they're forbidden in Saudi Arabia and UAE. That you'll never see it. You just say Muslim Brotherhood one time, you're out. But look, it's the same thing that happened in Iran. We can start talking about Iran. The Islamists, the extremists, partnered up with the leftists and the communists to take over Iran. It took them a while. And what did they do? They started at the grassroots. They started, local councils and started getting into lawmaking and that kind of stuff. Once they got to enough force, they took over the country. And what did the Islamists do immediately after they took power? They got rid of the leftists and the communists who they used to get into power. Stalin did that as well. Now they're doing it in America. You have the leftists saying, come to us, come to us. You have the Islamists and the leftists and the communists all working together to take over city council by city council by city council. We can get into that too. And then when they're done and they have enough power, they will get rid of the communists and the leftists. It's the same playbook since before World War II.
You're an American combat veteran. Like you actually served in war. You carried an assault rifle. You know what war is like.
Yeah.
What would you say to Americans? I mean, what would you say to Iranians who are like, where the heck is Trump? Trump encouraged us. He told us to keep going. I personally think what he's doing is he's being cautious. He wants to minimize civilian casualties. But what would you say to the Iranians? You're a combat veteran, American military, and they're there scared. No one's coming to save them. What they think no one is coming to save them. At least that's the perception.
Well, my latest info from about 3 hours ago is we are coming. Just I don't know when, and they obviously won't tell me for obvious reasons. It is slowed down. There was a pause. All I can say is this: I stood against an enemy, our perceived enemy, fully armed. Yeah, these amazing, courageous people are standing against an armed enemy in civilian clothes and no weapons. That's a courage I don't know if I even understand. I don't think most Americans can understand that, and that's why most Americans ignore it. If they even hear about it, because the mainstream media is ignoring it because they're all with the leftists, the communists, and the Islamic radicals. And so for the Iranian people there, I like to stay safe, but staying safe means staying inside. I think help is coming. As far as what I'm being told by the people on the inside, but I just got to, I tip my hat, bow my head to those that are standing up to this with nothing more than a voice. To me, that's gives me chills when I think about that. Hell, I was scared in a uniform with a weapon and in a tank. I was scared. I can't imagine what it's like standing on the street facing this with just the clothes on your back. Incredible.
Yeah, I think Ali Khamenei, the genocidal psychopath leader in occupied Iran, foreign regime, Iraqi cult, they've pushed Iranian men and women to a point where this is a red line. I think this is a boundary. I think when you look at thousands of people murdered with chemical weapons, the complete betrayal of that genocidal freak, Ali Khamenei, to bring in Iraqis after the Iran-Iraq war, they brought in chemical weapons. Then he goes to that exact historic enemy of ours. He brings in Iraqi militia to bring chemical weapons instead of protecting the homeland, his country. It's like Donald Trump bringing Mexican cartel that usually bring in drugs into our American border in Texas and saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to go get Mexican cartel, Stephen, to go to Minnesota and beat the heck out of these ICE protesters. Trump would never do that because he's an American. He loves his country. He's a hero. But Ali Khamenei,
we know extremists will do anything to stay in power. That's the whole point. But when they get to that point, that's usually a sign they're going to lose power very soon. And that's what we have to count on. I mean, there's a lot of people out there saying, what does America care? What's our problem? We can't even pay for, our groceries. We can't pay for our rent. We can't pay. Look, this is about humanity. This is about being a human being. This isn't about bills and taxes and all that shit. It's about being a human being. You have millions, 80 million Iranians?
Yeah, about 90.
Right?
About 90 million.
90 million Iranians, which some are Kurdish and some are not, and some are Persian, some, there's a whole mix of cultures over there. Some of them are being targeted more than others, by the way, which we could get into later. And they're fighting for their lives with nothing. And one thing I got to say about America, no matter what we do, no matter how arrogant we are, how loudmouth we are in a lot of places around the world, people make fun of us and stuff. One thing we have that I've never seen in any other nation, and that's a heart to help. We really do. We're the most giving nation on the planet, and that's statistically factual. That's not just me making that up. Americans donate per capita more than any other country and any other citizen of any country in the world. So that's something that's a place we come from as an American. We're the only constitution on the entire planet written according to individual liberties and rights. Every other constitution is collective or communist or whatever. But there's no other country on the nation with a constitution written upon individual rights. And that's because we care, because we're a giving person, we're a giving society. It's below us, like down deep inside of us. Get rid of the hate, get rid of the bias, get rid of the back and forth, and look at who we really are. That's what we talk about all the time. We need a fair and level playing ground, one set of moral principles, and our Constitution, our republic was founded on that. So for me, it's not even a discussion. Like, we have to help them. We have to help the Iranians over there right now. There's no other way. When you see someone in peril, I'm sorry, if you're saying it's not my business, then you're not a man. I'm going to speak for a man because I'm not a woman, so I won't speak for women. But if you're just not a man to me, if you're not out there saying we need to help, you're just selfish. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, from a national security standpoint, I know that the argument could be made, hey, Iran's so far away from us, they're not an actual threat. I mean, I've made this argument that communist China is a bigger threat to our national security here in the United States. However, that said, if you look at the sheer volume of information warfare, psychological disinformation campaigns that they conduct out of Russia, Iran, how much Qatar has financed on social media. I mean, it's not like they're not doing foreign intervention. They're doing foreign intervention in Western countries. They're doing foreign intervention in the United Nations, which is basically at this point like a communist CCP manual with what they're doing in their speeches and how they bully these countries in Africa, Latin America to undermine us in the United States. But yet we host the United Nations, which I think we should completely defund and deport the heck out of our land. I don't know. That should be in Beijing at this point, honestly. At least then it's honest. Amen
to that.
Right, look, at least it's honest.
What you're talking about is important. It really is. And it moves a lot of people. It's also a massive distraction because the simple fact is this: everything we're talking about so far is something that you have to want to listen to, or that you're going to be programmed to listen to. Because in your daily life, getting up, going to work, paying the bills, taking the kids to school, feeding the cat, whatever you do. This does not affect that at all unless you let it. So I believe, and that's one of our premises, is that we should be selective about what we get outraged about. If I get outraged about what's going on, with China or Russia or Ukraine or whatever, either I'm personally affected by it, which my wife is Ukrainian, so I am personally affected by it. Her family, we took them out of Ukraine to save them. So I'm affected by it because my in-laws live next to us. Not in a bad way, I'm just kidding. But as an example, or we really have to care about it. But most of this stuff, it matters a lot, but it's not going to affect our life right now. So our premise is real simple. Take your life back first. Get yourself square, right? Get yourself and your family squared away, then your community, then your city, then your state, then the country. Then we can take the world on an even keel. I know it's hard to say that because these things really do matter for people who have, it's an international world. It's a global world now, and it isn't secular anymore. So it's hard to say that, but it's the fact. If we want to get together, form a unified front to help anyone in the world, including ourselves, we need to get back to ourselves first, and that's us first. You, me, everyone else, find our way, get straight, get square, get rid of the debt, the weaponized debt that America has skillfully orchestrated over the last 50 years, that every American is so in debt that they have to follow rules and do what they're told, or they will lose their job, which then will lead to a cascading effect of, all the way to homelessness.
I want to, it's interesting you talk about, you were talking about, just what's going on here. And someone says something about, we have Matt here. Matt, welcome. He says in the comments, he says, the amount of influence that IRGC has in the West scares me. So many Canadians are openly supporting them. It's interesting, Matt, you say that because I want to play a clip here and Stephen, see what you think. This is actually, there was a massive protest yesterday. And bear in mind, this is like Canada in a blizzard. I was just out there. Look at this, man. How many people came? So this is the blizzard. This is footage of how many people came out yesterday in this. And that I think so many Iranians at this point, man, are like, we cannot let this one go. Like
you can't. It's past that point. It's past that point of giving up. It's past that point. I mean, there's so much propaganda out there right now. Oh, it's Mossad, it's CIA, it's MI6, whatever it is. The point is this: it's gone too far now. We have to make it end. We have to get them out. We have to save Iran for the Iranians. Take Iran back. Real simple. Hey, John Rudat. You know who John Rudat is, don't you?
John Rudat's a hero, man.
Yeah,
I do. I met him recently. He's a hero. He's an American patriot in Germany. Yep. He saved this girl. He says, you're completely right. Focusing on grassroots change is how massive impact is made, not only on the national, but the global scale. Everyone who's looking at this stream or the podcast, when you listen to it, Jonathan Rudat, American hero. He saved a girl in Germany from a savage terrorist beast. And he got injured, and he was a true patriot, and he was a true hero.
I'd like to add something to that. Jonathan has just joined Take America Back as our Gen X department head. So he's taken on the entire Generation X operations and the outreach in order to mobilize the younger generation for Take America Back.
Oh, that's wonderful. I personally follow Jonathan Rudat. I take it, Stephen does too. A big fan. I think he has an amazing future ahead of him. I recommend everyone follow him. Definitely.
Yes,
definitely. So in regards now to occupied Iran and the genocidal psychopath, Ali Khamenei, if you had to make a prediction, do you think he's willing to murder 3-4 million Iranians to stay in power and use a nuclear weapon on Israel?
I don't think he's stupid enough to use a nuclear weapon, because that would be immediate ceasefire in every space. I don't think he'd be that stupid, but I think he wouldn't stop it. I think he would stop at nothing to stay in power, which means by whatever means necessary, whatever the number is. I don't know. I don't want to make that. I don't even want to bring it into reality. Yeah, he'll stop at nothing to stay in power.
We have a comment from Nova. She says China too. By the way, everyone, thank you for the comments. If you're enjoying the stream, please retweet and share. Please retweet and share so we can get others to join this good conversation. Stephen is not just an influencer. He's literally an American combat. For those of you who don't know, he's an American combat veteran. He's a Bronze Star, decorated soldier. He's spent quite a bit of years working abroad overseas. He truly knows his stuff. So, questions, we encourage your questions. Okay. So Nova says China too is gaining power by IRGC, free energy support and money. I think my take on that, Steve, is that China's benefit, the commies in China benefit from discounted oil that's sold to them. And if sanctions are removed, it's very clear Iran could sell open market. I think they win. And also Qatar and Saudi Arabia, you can make the argument that, Qatar shares that oil field with the large oil field with oil reserve, with Iran. But I think that they also benefit when Iran is so isolated. I think that Saudi benefits when Iran is so isolated. And the fact is, Iran should be one of the richest countries in the world. It should be I don't think that's in their best interest. I think they would rather have Khamenei as an enemy, as an isolated enemy, than a liberated Iran with Reza Pahlavi or another.
What would the military industrial complex do without an enemy? Think of it that way. You got to look at. Sometimes you got to look at a much bigger picture. You think China couldn't get oil somewhere else? You're damn right they could. This is not a binary oil system that oil cause or reasoning that we're talking about here. This is all geopolitical power shifting, and we need enemies to keep feeding the military-industrial complex, and that's not only the military-industrial complex. That's not only the industrial complex. That's also the intelligence agencies that are fed by the military-industrial complex, and they're massive. They have massive black budgets. Where do you think the trillions of dollars are going that the Pentagon can't find? Where do you think that goes? Right? I had friends. I got a buddy in I won't say which city, but in Europe. He's Iranian, and his family's an oil family in Iran. And he asked me how I could, if he knew if there was a way that I could move cash, right, out of the. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's frozen.
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, you're frozen for some reason. Someone tried to call me. I think I messed up the stream.
Now, can you hear me now?
Okay, you got me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
And so I got this buddy in Europe, and he's Iranian. And he asked me one time, hey, do you know where we could move cash out of Europe? And I was like, what do you mean? He said, my family and this, that, and the other. Apparently, Iran's been selling Europe oil at around the sanctions, tax-free for many, many years, where there's billions of dollars in cash sitting in warehouses all around Europe. So that's one thing. This isn't about, if they want oil, they're going to find oil. If China wants it, they're going to get it, with or without sanctions. That's all just political BS to make us all think that we're powerful. In the end, we need enemies to feed the military-industrial complex, which feeds the intelligence agencies, which is basically the constructors of the world and the picture that we see every day on the news. That's what's basically happening. So we have to let go of what we think we know and think of the reality of things. I always say this: if you're triggered because something makes you happy that's going on in the news, or you're triggered because something makes you upset, it's the same exact tool that's being used against you. Yeah, it's all propaganda. What you see is not what you get.
I want to talk to you here about this. See what you think. So they're saying, Wall Street Journal says that even the lowest estimates of the death toll in Iran's wave of protests suggest that the episode is one of the deadliest of its kind anywhere in the world. What do you think the appetite? In regards to Trump here in the United States? What do you think do you think he's just waiting for public opinion? Because we have midterms here in the United States coming up too, So I think I'm thinking he's sensitive to domestic situation we have here, and it's maybe more of a timing, or how do you view it?
Yeah, that's always that always plays a role, as in when elections and things like that. But put it this way: the crisis action team stood up yesterday and the assets started moving on Friday. Just that's all I can say. Yeah. So we're moving in that direction. It's just timing is everything. That's about all I can say. But it's happening. It's just when is the question. You know, I can't say. I can't say.
You know what it is, Stephen. I think it's so disrespectful when these IRGC bot accounts. I mean, they're just doing they're just doing their job, which is disinformation to undermine anything they can. But the notion that 100,000, let's say, people would go protest in a Canadian blizzard, or recently like 50,000 maybe went to Cologne or something like that. I don't know. Maybe even if it was 1,000, whatever it is. The notion that it's some tiny country's intelligence agency, some tiny country like Israel's intelligence agency. Yeah, I get it. People are like, oh, Mossad's very, and I'm not taking away from their tiny agency, but I'm just saying it's still a tiny agency. Like, let's just irregardless of how good they are, it is a tiny, tiny agency. CIA is another story. That's a big agency, but Israel's a tiny agency. So, and even if it was CIA, even if it was Mossad, okay, let's say, I don't know, 100 people are there. Let's say hypothetically, but we're talking about like what, 2-3 million people pissed off and upset, 10, 20, 30
37 million people took to the streets the other week. 37 million people. That's 75% of all urban cities. 75% of all urban cities were on the streets. 37 million people in one night.
Yeah, there's no to discredit that, to just completely discredit that and say, oh, that's all CIA. CIA and the Mossad do not have that budget. Okay, guys.
It doesn't even matter because they're there. We know they're there, but they're not doing this. Okay, they might have pockets of influence. For instance, if there was a city where it wasn't happening yet, maybe they went there and stirred it up. Who knows? But this is real. Like, this is real. And anyone saying, there's so much disinformation out there right now saying, oh man, CIA, MI6, Mossad, all this kind of stuff. But there's something to say that Israel has never admitted to doing any of this kind of stuff anyway. So to go out there and say, oh, they said this and they said that. No, they didn't. They're not doing this like everyone says they are. This is real. This is the Iranian people saying we have had enough. And I have friends in Switzerland, in Germany, in America, in Iran, and here in Turkey, and all over the world that are Iranian, that are freaking calling me and writing me. I got 2,000 messages on one day when I did a reel, right? On Iran, 2,000 messages from Iranians, and just telling me full stories, like just heartbreaking stuff. I couldn't read them all. I tried. I stayed up for like 12 hours straight taking them, but man, it's so incredibly heartbreaking. And for someone to, for some keyboard warrior to go, oh, you know what you're talking about? The CIA's doing this, or Mossad's doing this. It's an Israeli op. This is real. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I find it super offensive when people do that. I mean, I know people get the thing is that I am Jewish. It's my faith. However, I did a DNA test. I'm like 93% Iranian, literally like 93% Iranian. And Jews have lived in Israel for about 2,500 years.
Yeah.
I'm also come from a mixed family. My grandfather was a Muslim. Both of them were Muslims. I have Jewish from my mother's lineage. My wife's Christian. She's German. And the thing is, man, is like their Iranians make up a wide variety of faiths. I mean, Zoroastrian is our ancient faith in Iran, which is basically think good, do good, say good. If I was not Jewish, I'd probably be Zoroastrian, honestly. That's just my personal preference. But however, that said, I think that's a pure Aryan faith of our homeland. Islam came to Iran, as you know, through rape. It came and torture and murder. They murdered our people. And even how we say salam, that is basically from an Arabization of the Iranian Aryan culture. I think more and more people are finding it offensive and disrespectful to our own native culture, indigenous culture. And yeah, man. And I think what's coming to the Islamic Republic of the UK, the Islamic Republic potentially of Texas, these are states that, when you think about it, they're going deep, right? When they go to the UK, they're going deep inside of Europe, right? When they go to Texas, going deep inside of Texas. Now, I don't know much about Texas as you do, so I want to ask you about it. But it looks like they're truly trying to make it the Islamic Republic of Texas, and they're opening up a ton of indoctrination camps, if I'm not mistaken. Steve, is that correct? There's something like this is going on right now in Texas.
I don't want to get into the camps, but there's whole cities down there. I forget what it's called. There's a whole complex being planned that is just going to be Muslim or Islamic, and they're going to have like their own law, which isn't constitutional, and you can't actually do that. But they're doing it anyway. It seems like, and Greg Abbott is sort of letting it happen. But just to break it down for you, this is what's going on: is that as with in Michigan or in other cities as well, they're using our constitutional law to their advantage. These radical groups, as ideological groups, they're staying calm, they're staying collected, they're speaking, they're showing up to all of the meetings that nobody else shows up to, at the grassroots level, school boards, city councils, organizational meetings, things like that. And they keep asking and presenting, while Americans, we expect the lawmakers to take care of business, and they won't. Lawmakers are beholden. You have your constituents, and if you have all the Islamists showing up and they're the only ones showing up, who are you going to work for? You're going to work for them. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is right now. So they're not doing anything wrong. They're not breaking the law. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with Islam. I read the Quran in German and in English, and I understand it. And I live in a Muslim country right now most of the time in Turkey, and I have no issue with this at all. But it's the extremists that are the problem, and that's why they're not allowed in the Middle East. That's why they go to the West. And so what do? They set up camp. They do it quietly. They do it according to the law. And the next thing you know, they're running the city, and then they run the state. We have a lieutenant governor in Virginia that just got elected. She's Islamic, and she swore her oath on the Quran. This is a lieutenant governor of Virginia swearing in the oath to the United States of America on the Quran. It's her religion. Let it be her religion. But our country is founded on the faith, on the Bible. That's what we always swear. When you go to court, you swear on a Bible. There's a reason for that. I'm not pushing religion. I'm not saying you got to be Christian. I'm not saying that at all. You can be whatever you want to be. You believe in a higher self. You believe in a gummy bear up in the sky. I could give a shit, right? It's about being a good person. It's about assimilating to the country that you go to and respecting the laws and the rules and the regulations and the other citizens that have lived there their whole lives for generations and generations. That's what I'm talking about. Could you imagine you and I go on to Saudi Arabia and go, hey, we're going to set up our own camp here. We're going to set up an American caliphate. We're going to do it our way. We're going to set up a Christian-based, society here in Saudi Arabia, and you can't stop us because we're going to do it according to the law. It wouldn't happen, and it doesn't happen. Only the Westerners have been beaten into submission to say, oh, we have to be nice to everybody, and there's nothing wrong with being nice to everybody. Just don't let yourself get tramped on. But we can't fight back through fighting, through arguing, through screaming, through yelling. And here's my biggest issue, and this is why I started Take America Back, is you have all the talking heads, you have all the news, you have all these specialists and everybody talking about all the problems we have in the world and in America, especially in America, but nobody is providing a tangible solution with tools. We at Take America Back, jointab.us, right? We give you a book, a course, exactly how to do this in your own city, your state, and your country. Matter of fact, today, after we decided to do this, I put together a real short list. What are the bills, the legislature in Texas right now that are going on that are Islam related? What can you do against that by? There's a letter template in there to write your legislators. There's a telephone script you can use to call in there, and then there's a bunch of checklists that you can go through if you want to get together with 2 or 3 people to actually make this happen. We have to show up. Citizen, servant, leaders, right? We can't wait for someone else to do it for us. We have to take America back. We, the people, have to take America back for the people. Simple as that. Jointab.us is where you can find out more information.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, on the X stream, it's also on YouTube. For anyone who wants to get that information, the training manual, there's a Dropbox that Stephen gave me. I'm about to put it in the replies right now. So I would definitely recommend, if you want to help out, you want to participate, you want to actually do something to protect Western civilization, this is a big help. This is actually a big help. You can actually do something. You don't need to spend money. You can just do something, just a little bit of effort, because we're getting invaded.
And it's not just that. It's also taking it back from the establishment, from the career politicians and the career bureaucrats who are doing absolutely nothing but serving themselves. That's what it's about. Take it back for the people, by the people, citizen servant leaders running our country. We have to start at the local levels. We have to. Sheriffs, city councils, school boards, all that, even the library. It's like you have to start at that level. And the book and the course give you a foundation of which you can work with moral principles of honesty, integrity, transparency, moral courage, and accountability. Those 5 things. That's how you run a nation. We stay calm. We stay present in our communities, and we just take it back one by one without any kind of violence or anything like that. We're just through and through with moral courage.
Yeah. So you basically did this to defend America, right? Like to basically stop this and bring.
Defend America from anything foreign and domestic. When I took that oath, all enemies foreign and domestic, and we have enemies within the walls and we have enemies outside the walls. And I don't want to turn this into something militant, because it's not. It's real simple. You live in a place that you love. You want to protect that place. So when people come in here and want to disrupt that, whether it's politicians, bureaucrats who are pushing buttons and closing their eyes to reality just because they got to pay their mortgage, it doesn't matter. We either re-educate or replace. Simple as that. Save our country.
So now that Mamdani's mayor of New York City, right? And he's a Shia Muslim, right?
Yeah.
What do you like? What do you think? What do you think's coming, man? Like, what do you think's coming at the next United Nations meeting? You think they're going to celebrate and clap for when the Iran foreign minister speaks or whatever? Or do you think they're going to walk out like they did on Israel? What do you think?
Oh, they're not going to walk out. They need them. Like I said, the Islamists need the leftists. The leftists suck on the hind teeth of the Islamists, because they're the ones with a lot of power. The leftists have the money, and the Islamists have the power, apparently. So it'll be a big mess before it gets better, put it that way, in my opinion. So you gotta remember, there's Shiites and Sunnis. It's a whole different ball game with each group. They think it's the same, but Islam itself is also split. So there's so many things that people don't know about the Middle East and about Islam and Muslimism and all this kind of stuff, that it's hard to. Everything gets conflated, right? I mean, all of the riots started out, the suburbs are divided into like a central avenue and 4 main roads, basically, right? In Iran, right? Then you have bazaars and neighborhoods. And like from January 5th to the 7th, there was like bazaars, malls, and shops were shut down. And then as a form of protest, nothing violent, just peaceful. And then the president of Iran is Turkish. I don't know if you know that, but he's from Turkish descent. Yeah. And he says, yeah. So they're going to negotiate. And, if there were protests of like 80 to 90 people. And then around the 3rd to the 6th, 5 people died in Luristan, and some died in Kurdistan, part of Iran, the Kurdistan part of Iran. And that was the main trigger. And then January 8th, they closed the internet, and only the internet, not the local network, SMS or telephone. And then the 9th and the 10th, it increased. January 10th and the 14th, they started killing people. It didn't all happen at once. And it just kept moving from there. So then they shut down the hospitals, and then it just kept snowballing. And this whole time, you had the Sunnis and the Shiites all looking at this in a different manner. Because in the Shia world, Shias don't follow Allah, Muhammad, or Quran. They consider Khamenei himself divinity. Right? That's where the extremism comes from. I mean, of course, they follow Allah, Muhammad, and Quran, but the living divinity is in front of you, the Khamenei. Right? So how they pray, how they eat, walk, and even it's all established by the Imam. So all of these things that people don't know, and why is this happening, and what's this going on? Why are these people doing this? Why are these people doing that? No one's educated about it. It took a lot of research for me. I don't even know why I'm doing this today. I have no dog in this fight, except for many friends, Iranians. Like I told you before, I had a company in Hamburg where about 35 of my employees were Iranians and Persians, and I had 2 assistants that were Persian, smartest women I ever met, man, except for my wife. They just like knew what I was thinking before I even did it. It was crazy. They spoke 5 languages, 23 years old. It just blew my mind. It's a culture that I was talking to my buddy in Switzerland the other day. He's Iranian American, and I said, how is it that no matter where an Iranian is born, no matter where they're raised, they all have that same temperament. They all have that same graciousness. They choose their words. They're very giving and caring. and educated like nobody I've ever met, no culture I've ever met. Like, how is that even possible? He said it's like in our blood. That's how we have to be. So I don't know what that's about, but man, it blows my mind because I know Iranians that don't even speak Farsi, and they're the same as the ones who grew up in Iran with that mentality. It's incredible, man. It's incredible. It's an incredible culture.
Thank you, Steve. Steve, I appreciate we on behalf of everyone who's Iranian, we definitely appreciate you, man. So I want to. This is definitely a little bit graphic. I have an image of a little girl, and in Farsi that basically says an image of a crime at Namazi Hospital. Okay, so that's at Namazi Hospital, shooting a child who still has baby teeth. That's what that is. So, yeah. Do you think we're getting to a point where that genocidal psychopath Ali Khamenei may get prosecuted for war crimes?
I think he needs to be taken out. I don't think he doesn't deserve to even go to court, because going to court is a presumption of innocence, and we all know he's guilty. So no, he needs to be taken out. Period. And I'm not a person that would say that, typically, because I'm all for peace and love and all that stuff. But you show me a picture of a child. I got kids myself, and I just can't. I can't even stomach that. It makes me so angry that there's another father out there that did this. It just makes you wonder what kind of people are out there that would, I get it. When I went to war, it was either them or me, right? If it was a child, it definitely would have been me, because I wouldn't have shot. I couldn't do it. I had an experience when I was in Iraq after the war, after the ceasefire, on Highway 8 outside of Basra. And there was some people coming toward us. Once, the Shiites were told by Bush Senior to rise up and fight against Saddam, and that we would support them. So they did that, and then we were told to stand down, and we weren't allowed to support them. So Basra burned, and the civilians ran out, and they were coming to our checkpoint. We couldn't help them unless they were in uniform or they had a military ID, just protocol. And it was hard, but I stood strong, like, okay, I'm a soldier. This is what I get. I was 23 years old. And then through the desert, I see a pink dot coming towards me. And it was a little girl like this, walking like with her arms out. I'm thinking she's playing airplane or something. As she gets closer, I see the pink dress was put over top of her body that was burnt, and that her clothes are burnt into her skin. And shocked me. I felt really bad. So I brought her to the medics, and I had her bandaged up. And when she came out, I got down on my knee in front of her, and I didn't know what to do. So I pulled out of my grenade pocket. I had butterscotch candy from my aunt, send them to me. And I gave this little girl a piece of butterscotch candy. Now, this little girl burned from head to toe in the desert by herself. There was some other woman with her, but it wasn't her family, obviously. I gave her this piece of candy. She looked at me like, can I eat it? I know, sort of like that gesture. And I said, no, go eat it. And she took it, opened it, and smiled. Nima. This little girl who lost everything, burnt from head to toe, smiled over a freaking piece of candy. That's the moment in my life that I became a human being, right? In that very moment, in the middle of the desert. And I started crying. I had tears in my eyes. I just looked at her and showed her as much love as I could give her, and wanted to show her that, man, in the middle of all this mess, there's still hope. And I had to send her back out in the desert, brother. And I'll tell you, it was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. So when I see kids like this, it's really hard to deal with for me, And so I just want to go and wring that guy's neck. And you could parachute me in there right now, and I'd freaking do it myself. That's just how angry I get, and how amazingly horrible it is for me. And I know getting emotional on here is probably not a good idea, but this is what drives me, man. We can't have this thing in our world. We're past all this. Humanity is supposed to be getting better, not worse. Okay.
Yeah, man.
Right.
I mean, it's horrifying, man. I mean, this is one more image here. This is a beautiful girl. She was 22 years old. She's from Farsan, and she had severe head injury from shotgun pellets that was fired, they say, by state forces, maybe Iraqi militia in Iran, foreign invader, at the direction of Ali Khamenei, genocidal psychopath in occupied Iran, delegitimate government open concentration camp. That's what we're looking at. And she got that in a protest for her freedom, and she just died. So another that's someone's daughter. I have a daughter too, and rest in peace to her family, man. I mean, you could say all the bad things you want about Trump. He's not hiring Mexican cartel to go to Minnesota and murder thousands of protesters. You can say all the bad things you want about Netanyahu. In Israel, there's these woke, freak, pagan fanatics that are destroying Israel, and they protest against Netanyahu with complete lack of self-awareness and shame. And he doesn't go send a bunch of Hamas guys there to massacre them. But Ali Khamenei does that. Ali Khamenei will get Iraqi militia to go to Iran and murder a girl like this for just protesting. I mean, she's clearly not a national security threat. Give me a fucking break. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the extent of evil that we have got to. And I'm not saying like when one person attacks another country, that's good. No, that's also wrong. I just want everyone to understand the extent that this guy is doing it even to his own people, and he's literally the leader. He's literally the leader. Like that, he's literally where the buck stops. That's why I use Trump as an example, and I use Benjamin Netanyahu as an example.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, man. You know, it's back in 2009. You remember the Green Revolution, right? 2009.
That was big.
In Iran. Yeah, I was in Berlin at the time. I was still living there partially. I think I was in Berlin, and I think I had a nightclub at that. I had a nightclub at that time in 2009, and there was the marches in Berlin, and I ended up because I had so many Persians that would come to my club. I ended up leading the march in Berlin.
Really?
For I don't know how many. Maybe it was like 5,000 or 10,000 Iranians and other Germans that were marching. Pro-Iranian people. I got all kinds of grief from the American embassy for doing that, but I did it anyway. And so, like, I've had a long connection to the Iranian people, not just through the employees that have, but also through the activities that I led. And I've done some crazy stuff. But when you see things like you're putting up here, it makes you feel so helpless, man. You know, and then what do? We look for ways to, one, do it ourselves, which obviously we can't, or two, look to the people who can do something. And then that's what we need to put pressure on. You know, everybody should, if everybody watching us right now, just tag Trump and said, send troops now, get Khomeini out, save the people. You know, and a million tweets going to Trump, maybe he'd pay attention and take some action. But most people won't. Most people will complain, and they won't take action. So I dare everyone right now watching this, and anyone watching it now or later, to go ahead, tag President Trump, or whoever, Marco Rubio, and tell him to take some action right freaking now.
Yeah, because they could use all the help they could get, and also just the public opinion alone, man. Because there's no doubt about it that as soon as Trump attacks, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and the woke right will join the woke left, and they will slander, and they will, anything Trump does, anything Israel does, they break a fingernail, then they committed a genocide. And that's what Trump's actually, I think, it's like they're screwed if they do something, they're screwed if they don't. As we're looking at Iranian people get butchered by foreign intervention by that the genocidal psychopath Ali Khamenei, who's brought in people from, let's say, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, a historic enemy of the Iranian people, and Lebanon, Hezbollah. So we're dealing with a situation where that's what they're going to do, and maybe they don't even do it. Because to me, I look at like Russia, for example. I wish we had a good relationship with Russia, man, because I feel like they're always a little brother to China. I don't think China will ever look at them as an equal, but they can have an equal relationship with the EU. They can have a better relationship with the United States. But I don't know how we could make a deal to get them to stop these disinformation campaigns. But I try to stay optimistic with Russia, because I feel like to not try to win them over is handing them to the communists in China, and is handing them to the terrorists. I don't know. I don't know if it's possible. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm a useful idiot in thinking that. I'm aware of what they're doing. I'm aware that 9/11.
Dude, you can't give up. Hope dies last. You know what I mean? Hope dies last. The very, very last moment of everybody's life, they're hoping. Look, Adrian says, what's telling you he isn't already planning an attack and won't talk about it in order to surprise him? Of course he is. Of course, I just said that. You probably tuned in later, Adrian, but I did say that already. There isn't a plan. There's plans to go in. We just don't know when. Look, we got to hope. We got to try. Look, even this right now, just awareness. That's all we can do. I'd like to mention my dad fought in the Iraq War in the 1980s. He was severely injured. Now he watched the leader of his country bring the same people as kill his own son. Yeah, it's crazy.
Thank you, Matt, for the comment. Yeah, so Matt, your dad fought in the Iran-Iraq War. I would imagine he's pretty pissed off to look at an Iranian leader bring Iraqi militia, hire them, train them, equip them with military weaponry, gas masks, and then to spray indiscriminately into a street unarmed civilians that are Iranian who just want freedom in their own homeland. That's not that they want freedom in another country. No, they actually want freedom in their own homeland. And they're getting gassed down, hosed down with chemical weapons with the support of their leader, Ali Khamenei, who used their taxpayer, Iranian taxpayer money, by the way, to pay for these foreign occupiers, foreign terrorists from Iraq to kill their daughters. And you cannot make this up. I mean, the extent of evil. And by the way, it's not even the fact that he's Muslim. Many of the people he's murdering are Muslim. Many of the people that he's murdering have names like Ali, Saeed, Muhammad. And let's just understand that, guys. Like the people that he's murdering have names like Muhammad, Ali, Saeed. Actually Muslims. A Muslim killing Muslims. Most of those people dead were Muslims or from Muslim families. So the fact that there's not more Muslims speaking up outside of Iran, I think a lot of you should have some shame. A lot of you should have some.
Well, there's, the reason for that, like I said, in the West, they're not speaking up. The press isn't speaking up. Media is not speaking up. Mainstream, they're not speaking up. Slowly but surely, they are seeing a few things, but then they're seeding in. You see all the podcasts with McGregor, Colonel McGregor, and Scott Ritter. They're all saying, "Oh, this is only Mossad. It's not real." There's actually pro-Iranian regime protests of 100,000 people in the streets. And people believe that shit. As far as I know, as far as I could hear, okay, everyone's not on the same page when it comes to Reza Pahlavi, right? Everyone doesn't want him in there. That's some people are against him, some people are. Right. But to believe there's 100,000 people on the streets protesting for the regime that's killing their brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and stuff, it's just ridiculous. I haven't been able to confirm that at all. I've confirmed everything else. Like I said yesterday, an ex-employee of mine from Hamburg called and said finally she got hold of her mom in Iran, who called from a landline for about 2 minutes before it went down, that everything's okay, mom and dad and brother are okay. So I'm getting these firsthand reports, but I've never heard anything about firsthand reports about 100,000 people protesting for the regime, in support of the regime. I don't know. Have you heard anything about that?
I would like to see one protest like that outside of Iran, because somehow they're all inside of Iran. You know what I mean? Like as they're protected by Iraqi militias. So here's something I would like to also ask. Do you think it's sketchy as an American, combat veteran, served overseas, served in the Middle East, Qatar, as you know, we have U.S. forces in Qatar. You know that better than me. Yeah. That somehow Qatar's Al Jazeera is the only international channel that's able to broadcast right now from Tehran, as they have internet and electricity blackouts. They're literally having Al Jazeera there to push Ali Khamenei's propaganda and disinformation. So Al Jazeera has the green light. And that's actually supposed to be our ally. In what world is that our ally? And they're not even, it appears like they're not even letting us use our own base inside of the United States to, go in. So if they're not even helping us, what?
And you mean inside of Qatar? Yeah, the airspace and all that stuff. Yeah, I know. That's an issue. Look, considering Trump just sent $500 million from the Venezuelan oil deal over to Qatar for safeguarding, it does make you wonder if that was actually for safeguarding or for something else. Who knows? But it's obvious that when there's only one news outlet allowed That's the propaganda news outlet. That goes without saying. When it comes to Qatar, they've always played both sides. They had the Hamas leadership down there, in $100 million high rises, and they've always protected them. But they said they protected them in order to keep them available for negotiations. So there's always dancing on both sides, and keep your enemy close, all that kind of stuff. All of the acronyms that people always talk about. But we do the same thing. Look at I forget what his name is, the ISIS commander who's now was welcomed into the White House as a leader of a country. Yeah, it's just sickening to me. But they say better to recuperate him into someone good that works with us than to keep him for someone bad who works against us. It's nothing's binary, nothing, and nothing is as it seems. What we have to do is we have to weed through what we can affect in our lives. We have to weed through what we can affect in our communities. We can be outraged all day long about all this stuff that's going on, and we should be with all right. But when it comes to securing your family, your world, your life, without you straight in your world is ruined. And let me put it even closer to anybody. Everything you're worried about in the world today, when you cease to exist, none of it matters. The only thing that matters when you cease to exist are the people around you that you love, and that you have an influence over, that you provide support for, right? That's what matters. If we focus on that, if everyone would focus on that, the world would suddenly become calmer. And then our country, no matter what country you're in, would start to thrive. Because we're taking care of our own, we're taking care of our community, our house, our community, our city, our state, our country, all the way through. Look, I keep trying to plug it, but Take America Back, jointab.us, is a movement that was started organically just through me doing videos and people showing up. And we have thousands of people that are supporting us when they go to the website, and the book coming out and the course coming out to help people bring their communities back to a sovereign, let's say a sovereign republic. It's only up to us. Nobody else will do it. No one's coming to save us. The only way we can do it. The Iranian people noticed that that's the case as well. That's why they stood up, and now they need the help from somebody else. And it's up to the God-fearing, Allah-fearing, whoever-fearing citizens of the world that have a heart to make this work, to make this happen, to push for getting rid of the Khomeini, literally getting rid of him, and saving and freeing the Iranian people. It's a no-brainer. And anyone out there making comparisons to Palestine, and why didn't you care about Palestine? Why do you care about Palestine and not Iranian? Who gives a damn right now about that? We're not talking about that right now. What I'm talking about is if you're a human and you have a heart, you would care for Gaza, you would care for Iran, you would care for citizens being shot in America. You'd care for anybody. So taking sides and selective outrage is just a waste of time for me. And all of the celebrities and all of the bleeding hearts and all the demonstrations for all the Gazans for Palestine, they've gone silent because it doesn't fit their agenda and the ideology. And that should tell everyone what you need to know. Now, I'm not discrediting what's going on in Gaza or in Israel, because both sides are getting slammed. I'm just saying, if you care, you care. That's it. Shouldn't be selective. And right now, what's getting our attention is Iran. So let's take care of Iran. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. We right now we have a question here. Adrian asks, do you expect the soldiers Khamenei hired to chicken out of the country once the U.S. strikes Iran?
Hell yes. Hell yes. And I can tell you it happened in Iraq. The armies aren't the problem. It's the militia, or what do you call them, the terrorists or whatever. They're running around hiding in bushes and stuff. The armies are they're just a bunch of civilians that are being paid to be out there. Once the pay stops, they walk, half of them, and then once the shit hits the fan, the other half walks. When we went into Iraq, we were told, "You're not coming back, Stephen. They have 5 tanks for every tank that we have. You're going to lose. You're not coming back." When we showed up there, the regular army troops, except for the Republican Guard, the Tawakhan and the Medina divisions, they threw their hands up in the air as soon as they saw us. And then we hit the Republican Guard, and the Republican Guard fought for probably 24 hours. We took them out, and then that was over. And as soon as you rolled up near any one of them, their hands were in the air. Look, these are dads and brothers and fathers and cousins and uncles and stuff. They don't want to die. They don't want to die. What are they fighting for? As an American, we're used to fighting for something patriotic, that kind of stuff. Oh, yes. Turks are like that too. They're very patriotic. Iranians are very patriotic too, but not to the leadership, to the country. And then you have foreign fighters in there. They're getting paid, and if they're not getting paid, they're gone. I promise you. There's no reason for them to stay. If their money stops, they're stopping. Simple as that. So, I hate to say it, but there's never been an Arab army that was formidable against any U.S. force, period, bar none. It's always the extremists and their little missions that they go out and they strike us here and they strike us there, and sort of a terrorist attack here, a terrorist attack there. But yes, they're going to walk. I promise you that they're going to walk. A lot of them. Some of them already are walking. There's police stations. The police stations shut down because the police wouldn't even wouldn't follow the rules, and that's why they brought the militia in.
So we have a comment here. An attack on Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei would amount to an all-out war against Iran. Looks like the president of Iran, or leader of Iran, is making a big, bold statement. What do you think, Matt? Like they just talk, like they talk pretty big. It's like, bro, like I don't think they're scared of you guys. Like if they come after the Ali Khamenei, man, like a little self-awareness here, man. Yeah.
Well, there is no self-awareness when you're living in a bubble. It's just they look at they just feel like that's their world is the whole world, and it's not. You got some rednecks in America could take him out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't be scared of him for nothing. And it's just I know some guys in the state. I know some Navy SEALs. They'd walk over there right now in their cut off jeans shorts and take him out. You know what I mean? It's this isn't the world that we live in, man.
Yeah, I got a clip I'd like to play here. It's about it's about 4 minutes, but I just want to play like the last 3 minutes of it, and then would love to get what you think about it. It's Mark Levine, and he makes a comment about the Iranian protests and so forth. So about to go into it right now. I'd love to see what you think about it. 1 second here, pull it up. I think we're starting to get a lot of people also, man, that are just so pissed off that finally, the world is coming around, so to speak. And I think as an Iranian, it's amazing it's honestly amazing to see our guys about to go right in.
Who protested and are being murdered and held in prisons, being tortured and raped, are young people the age of your children and grandchildren. You go online and you look at these photos, you see 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds dead, their eyes wide open, looking into the sky. They had to wonder, my God, what's happening to me? Their prisons are filled with thousands and thousands of these young people who want what our kids want. On a Friday night in America, to go to a movie, not to be forced to cover their hair and their face, to dance, maybe have a drink if they're old enough, to go out on a date. This is what they want. This is Persia. The Persian people are Western people. That's what they are. Do you know what? Iran today is a concentration camp. The lights are off. The electricity is off. It's dark. There's no communication except for Qatar's communication system, Al Jazeera. People are being dragged out of their homes tonight as I speak. They're hiding in their homes. They're being executed summarily. The prisoners, who are the age of your children and grandchildren, are being tortured and raped. It's not 3,000 dead. I just read it's 23,000 dead, and the number's going up. You can't see there. You can't hear there. Maybe they're not hanging people, but they have bullets. They're killing people, and they are abusing these people. Now, people say, what is it our business? Now, sometimes there are things we cannot do, the Uyghurs in China and so forth and so on. You just said that this guy Khomeini has ordered the assassination of our president. They've tried to assassinate our president. He should be taken out. When you try to take out the president of the United States, since when do we tolerate that? from any 7th century barbarian primitive. Not today, not yesterday, and we shouldn't take it tomorrow. And we shouldn't be here wondering what America should do.
Mark, so what do you think about that? What he's talking? I mean, Stephen, I'm sorry about Mark. I'm saying Mark. 1 second here. A little technical difficulty. 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Stephen, what do you think about what Mark just said?
I'm not a big fan of Mark Levine, but he's absolutely right. You know, I mean, it's the last part was just him ranting off, trying to be a tough guy. But you know, he's right, and he put it perfectly right. You know, who doesn't want to go out with their daughter to the movies, or their boyfriend or their mom to go to dinner and just have a good time and just live freaking life the way you're supposed to be living it? You know, I think a lot of people, especially in America, instead of complaining about what we shouldn't be doing, we should look at what we got. You know, we live in a nation, the most prosperous nation in the history of the world. The most prosperous nation in the history of the world, United States of America. You can go out right now, start a company. You can do things right now to change your life today. Walk out, go out, and make it happen. They can't do any of that. None of it. And it's not a prosperous nation. It could be, but it's not a prosperous nation. And that goes for most nations in the world, by the way. Rules and regulations and laws and everything keep them from doing what we do every single day and take it for granted. And if you ask me, you know, Americans, as I said before, are one of the most giving cultures on the planet. We need to keep in mind what we have and not what we don't have or what we shouldn't do. If we take responsibility for our own world, our own cities, our family, our city, right, our community, our city, our state, and our country, we will be the beacon. And that's not something we have to do. That's something that's our moral responsibility, if you ask me. You know, I truly believe, and I really, really believe this, because having lived in 10 countries, I always saw myself and conducted myself as an ambassador for the good of America. And no matter where I lived, I never had one negative comment, remark, situation about anything about being American. Even in Turkey, in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in Germany, in Switzerland, in Spain, Portugal, Austria, UK, nothing. If at all, it was always, wow, really, you're American. Wow, my gosh, I would love to go to America. I'd love to live there. I would love to make this happen. That American dream that America says is gone, it's not. We're just being sold that it's gone. We can still go, we can make this happen, and we can be the beacon in the world again to help others. And this is a perfect opportunity to start that ball rolling again by helping the Iranian people take their country back.
I want everyone that's joined our stream. We got YouTube and X, but on X, I would like to say thank you to everyone because your participation has been a big help. And right now, we actually have the number one stream on here. I just looked at this. Yeah, man, number one. Look at that, bro. Boom, number one. Wow. Army vet on genocide. So thank you, everyone, for helping. This is pretty cool. Thank you, Stephen. You're a big help. And people here like to listen to you, man. You know, you're actually someone who knows what he's talking about. So we have a big thing happen today. And by the way, if you're enjoying this stream, please retweet, engage, like, share with a few of your friends. So that's a big help for us to get the message out. And also in the replies on X right now, there's a Dropbox link for you to get involved with Stephen. If you're an American here in the United States, to protect our country domestically and from foreign threats. So now I'm about to go to some news that just came out today. Get your thoughts here, Stephen. It's that Reza Pahlavi, the son of Iran's last Shah, he released a video declaring he will return home to lead the nation out of what he calls an occupation, which is what I also refer to it as, responding to calls from protesters amid the 2025-2026 uprising against Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who's known as a genocidal leader, at least to me. The protests began over economic collapse in late December, but evolved into demands to topple the regime, with millions marching in January before a harsh response killed thousands and imposed an internet blackout. The verified videos captured chants of Pahlavi will return in areas of Iran as Pahlavi pushes for a secular democracy transition and gains backing from Iranian diaspora and U.S. figures of like President Trump. And obviously, I think Rubio's in that camp and Lindsey Graham's in that camp. I would, what would you support Trump to do? You don't come across as someone to me that would support American boots on the ground. But
No.
But I think you would come off as someone that would say maybe some special ops, maybe some,
definitely kinetic weapons, special ops. You got Delta Force, you got Navy SEALs, you got other ops as
By
well.
a regime that shows no.
Is that the extent that you would approve?
Well, kinetic weapons can take just about anything out with little to no collateral damage. And you could also send in the special ops teams like they did in Venezuela, where they used ultrasonic weapons. And basically all of the soldiers that were around were down and out with let's say, vibrational frequencies in their body that made them incapable to even stand up. And these guys just walked in without a shot fired, and took Maduro and walked out. If we can do it there, we can do it here in Iran. And so minimum casualties. And yes, it should be done, in my opinion. I don't see the point of, look, we live in a modern world. You got drones, you got kinetic weapons, you got ultrasonic weapons. What do you need boots on the ground for? Men shooting each other. Those days are over. The only reason that still exists is because of the military industrial complex makes so much money from it. But there's no need for that anymore. Zero. Even in Ukraine and Russia right now, there's no need for that. There's enough technology these days to shut them down and take them out if they wanted to. But any delay, any extension of any war means more money for some people, unfortunately. And that's just what we have to deal with. And again, until we citizens take our local communities back, our local government, our city government, our state government, and then our country's government, it's going to keep happening. And we can't take it back from the top, because the top exists because the structure underneath it enables it. That structure underneath it is beholden by weaponized debt. And that means if you don't do what you're told, you're going to lose your job, which means you're going to lose your mortgage, your kids' college, and all the whole works. You might even lose your house. You might end up homeless. So people are held hostage by this weaponized debt. And the people at the top, they expect them, and they know they're going to push the button, write the check, sign the bill, sign up for an LLC that they've never even seen in their lives, take a little bit of money, pass the stuff up the chain. Just the way it works right now. The only way we can stop that is starting at the bottom and moving up. Just like in Texas, where the Pakistanis are doing the same thing legally by taking over little board by little community, a little piece at a time, until the point where they have enough power to flip it into their favor. And then the shit hits the fan where they start making it mandatory, and then citizens are no longer welcome in their own cities. So you can do it the way you can do. We just do exactly what they're doing, but we have to do it. And Americans are still too comfortable. Unfortunately, a lot of Americans are still too comfortable to stand up and do anything about it. We'd rather go online and talk about it and take a selfie, But look, I've lived in 10 countries. I've raised billions of dollars for companies all over the world to grow and scale. I've worked for royals, celebrities, Mick Jagger, Olivia Newton-John, Andrea Bocelli. I've worked for, 6 different governments as an advisor. I've advised directly world leaders. I'm giving all that up, all of it, to go back to America and set up Take America Back. The training doctrine, the book, the course, the media center, it's all going to be in Florida for now anyway. It's to set it all up. I'm giving up my whole life. I live beautifully here on the Mediterranean. I'm looking at the Mediterranean right now. It's 100 meters from me. Giving it all up to go back into the shark's den to try to take America back. And we need everybody's support. And this is what I can tell you right now. I could get $10 million, $20 million, $30 million from one of the groups that I know, but then I have to do what they say. And then it's not a people's movement. This is a people's movement. Take America Back is a people's movement. That means everybody donates, or sponsors us with $5 a month. If you can afford $5 a month, that's all I'm asking, right? We get enough people doing that, and we can set up the newsroom. We can get the credentials and show you truth-based journalism without any bias, without any outrage, presenting both sides, or actually the facts that are split into two sides. It's always the same story. They're split into two different views, and that's sort of where we're headed. So I'm giving up my whole life to come back and do that. Now, there's a PDF that you can download here if you're living in Texas. Actually, if you live anywhere, it's a great template for reaching out to your lawmakers. There's a website, an email template in there and a telephone template in there that you can use. Hi, this is Stephen. I am calling you about Bill XYZ. I want you to do this. Can you do it? Yes or no? Boom, boom, boom. And just follow the rules. Just follow the template. If everyone takes action right now, if 100 people in Texas right now took action, wrote that email and called their lawmakers, they're going to get some ears. But are you still too comfortable? You got that date tomorrow night. You got to go out with the boys tomorrow night and do some off-roading. What's more important to you, the now or the future for your kids? Simple as that. And me, I chose the future for my kids.
What country are you in?
Right now, I'm in Turkey. Right now, I'm in Turkey.
You feel safe there?
Oh yeah, man. This is one of the safest countries I've ever lived in. At least the city I'm living in. At least in the city I'm living in. So.
Oh, okay. I've been to Turkey. It's beautiful. The food's delicious, man.
Yeah, it is. It's a big problem, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm part Turkish according to my DNA report. I guess I'm part Turkish, Kurdish, Turkish.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I got. But from the Turkey, Iraq, Iran region, but the Caucasus Mountains. I got a little bit of like Eastern European. I think from the Ukraine, Belarus, Polish area, a little bit of Chinese. But anyway, I got a question for you. Nice lady from Texas. She asked in DM actually. She asked me. It's about Governor Abbott in Texas because I know you're involved. You're involved in Texas, and she's a very nice lady, Pamsy. Now she says, "What can Governor Abbott do legally to stop this mass invasion of Islamic extremists in Texas? Why isn't he? Amy Meck has been preaching this for years about Texas. Nothing happens that I've seen as far as stopping them or deporting them." So just to repeat that once more, this is a question from a lady in Texas. What can Governor Abbott do legally to stop this mass invasion of Islamic extremists in Texas? If so, why isn't he? Amy Meck has been preaching this for years about Texas. Nothing happens that I've seen as far as stopping them or deporting them. You're working in Texas, Stephen. What's your thoughts?
Well, the first point is because we're not loud enough. We're not. There's not enough of us speaking up about it, right? That's the first thing. Attention goes where the power flows, and there's not enough people standing up about it. Second of all, they're not breaking any laws. They're not breaking any laws. They're doing exactly by the book, and that's why it's so powerful. That's why they keep gaining. And while they're doing it by the book, showing up to every meeting, showing up to every call. Americans are saying, "Hey, why are you guys doing that? Why don't you lawmakers take control?" They're not going to take control. They're not going to fix it for us. Nobody will fix it for us. We have to fix it ourselves. And Greg Abbott, he's just like any other politician. He wants to stay in power and keep profiting from his position. And he's proven himself over and over that he acts like a Texan, but he doesn't. His actions don't reflect that of a Texan. So, until we stand up and make enough noise, and I don't mean loud noise, I mean unity. It's probably not going to change. It'll keep getting worse. And again, the Pakistanis and the Islamists, they're not breaking any laws until he signs an executive order or the legislators down there get off their asses and actually change some laws so that this isn't illegal. Some people say, well, what's the difference between the Jews or wanting a Jewish holiday or the Hindus wanting a Hindu holiday or whatever. The difference is they're assimilating. You don't see like Jewish communities setting up with like their own lawmakers and their own walls around the city and like only Jews can live here. Like that doesn't exist in America.
If we're honest, and I know there's an IRGC bot, a bot from a country that hates America that will completely say I'm wrong or distract and smear what I'm about to say. I don't think I've ever had someone say to me, "Oh, I'm scared to get on a plane because there was a bunch of Jewish guys." right? Like,
Yeah, that's true. I never heard that either.
right? I don't like. I don't even remember one terrorist attack in the United States ever, where it was like a bunch of Jewish guys.
Well,
Down
it depends how you look at it, because there are, the 9/11 reports about those what was it, 4 or 5 Israelis standing in New Jersey taking photos of the World Trade Center as it was going down and cheering. There's always something to say. Maybe it was Mossad, maybe it wasn't, but there's stories out there. You just need to read about it. It doesn't mean it's true. I'm just saying, but yeah, I get your point. There wasn't any Jewish guy burning his shoe on the plane. There, what I mean? There wasn't a bunch of guys getting on a plane flying them into towers, if that even happened. But I think Adrian nailed it. He said the problem is that unlike the Iranian people, us Americans don't have our lives directly threatened, and we live comfortably, so it's easy to close our eyes and do nothing. Exactly, Adrian, you nailed it. We're too comfortable. And that goes with any world. The Germans, like you're talking about before, they're too comfortable. They still get a good paycheck. They still get subsidized food. When I lived in Germany, it always blew me away. You had the healthiest food you could get, and it was cheap, and I could never understand why. And that's because the government subsidized it. Keep your people happy, and they'll do what they'll do what they're told. There's so many things going on in this world. If you get into it, you'll lose your freaking mind. If you have to work on a 9 to 5, or you're doing something, you're busting your butt, and you get into this sort of thing, the geopolitics and all what we're talking about, you will lose your mind. That's why I say to people, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Take care of your world. Take care of your family. Take care of your community. Right? Let other people who have the capacity and the will to make a difference out there to try to do that. But if everybody focused on their family and their world, America would be amazing. The whole world would be amazing. And I just want to tell you this Take America Back doctrine that we're doing, right? I got calls from Sweden, Denmark, Belgium, Holland, New Zealand, Canada, and Australia. They're saying, can we get the doctrine and take Australia back, take New Zealand back? So this isn't just an American thing. This is a citizen thing. Citizen servant leaders all over the world saying, we're done with the establishment, the establishment and career politicians and the career bureaucrats who are doing nothing for us. And it will never change until we change it. We, the people.
So I'm about to play a clip here, see what you think here. Thank you, man, for hanging out here. If you got another 20 minutes, man, we could play a little bit more footage, get your opinion. It looks like we got the #1 stream on X, bro. You're a popular guy,
It's you, brother.
All right, man, here we go, man.
The people of Iran are being slaughtered in the streets and in their homes by a regime that shows no mercy. More than 12,000 Iranians were massacred in 48 hours. One murder every 14 seconds. The battle in Iran today is not between reform and revolution. It is between occupation and liberation. And the Iranian people have already chosen their side. Their heads are bloodied, but unbowed. Despite the lies you're hearing from the regime, its bloodlust has not diminished. The slaughter has not stopped. My brave compatriots, still holding the line with their broken bodies, but unbreakable will. The people have not retreated. Their determination has made one thing clear. They are not merely rejecting this regime, they are demanding a credible new path forward. The Iranian people are taking decisive actions on the ground. It is now time for the international community to join them fully. I will return to Iran. The people of Iran have risen to reclaim their country. History will honor those who stand with them. Long live Iran.
What do you think's going on? I mean, they're in a unique situation where they don't want to give away too much information, right? But they also don't want to lose the protesters and the will of the people. So it's sort of a balancing act, right? Or what's your take on it? Well,
the hope dies last. Like I said, as long as they see people out there still saying, "We're coming, we're going to help you, we're going to be there." Reza, he's been very active. He's speaking with. I have a friend, like I said, that knows these guys. And he said that Reza and the two owners of Uber, they're also Persian, are speaking about about the interim government, and that they're putting up a couple $1 billion in order to fund this. So they're getting ready already to make this happen. Now he even said that he doesn't want to be the leader; he wants to be the interim leader, so that the people can choose. Which I think is smart, because that way he's talking to both factions, that the pro and the contra. But in the end, people are saying, "Oh, he's a plant from the CIA." You know how it is, right? He's a plant from the CIA. He's from MI6 or whatever. But you know what? Choose your poison, brother. You know what I mean? Like, you want what you got now, or you want something better? And something better means, again, freedom for you, freedom to do what you say, to move about, freedom to go to the movies, freedom to go to work when you will, make as much money as you want, and be able to be creative in your life. I think CIA, MI6, most whatever it is, it's not going to be like this. What it is right now, it's not going to be shooting mass, millions of people in the street, or hundreds of thousands of people in the street, whatever it's been over the years, So it's a trade-off for sure. Nothing is ever going to be, tit for tat, or 100% perfect, bad to 100% perfect. I mean, there's always a process in there, and giving them a chance at their own destiny, I think, is the right thing to do. Period. Now, when is Trump going to send the troops in? I don't know. I just know they're staged right now. I do know that. So they're staged, ready to go. They just have to get the go ahead for it. What kind of troops that is? If it's kinetic weapons, if it's frequency weapons, if it's special forces, special ops, Navy SEALs, Black Ops, who knows? Delta Force, who knows? And if I didn't know, I couldn't say it anyway. So we have to have faith in that. It's just that it can't take too much longer, because the people are, wearing thin.
Got a comment here. The problem is that, unlike the Iranian people, us Americans do not have our lives directly threatened, and we live comfortably, so it's easy to close our eyes and do nothing. Yep, I think Stephen pointed that out. Nadia, welcome to the stream. She says, with all the killings, crackdowns, and blatant human rights abuses in Iran, why is our Reza Pahlavi still not on the table? R2P, I think, still not on the table. Seriously, where does the international community actually draw the line? Sep just reposted the stream. Thank you to everyone reposting the stream, helping us basically get the #1 stream. Thank you. I'll tell you my feelings on Reza Pahlavi, and that's that I do back him as a transitional leader. I think he's very popular as a transitional leader. What comes after that, I don't know. That's actually, like, my home's in Florida. Like, even though I'm Iranian, my heritage, my ancestry, my DNA, like, I get it, but I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. Like, I'm I'm like a redneck myself. I spent like 15 years in New York City, but it's like, it's not my place to tell them what they should do.
No.
I just want to get this Islamic regime gone. My grandfather was a major general. He served with the Shah. He fled Iran. Americans helped to rescue my grandfather. So it's as a sense of justice. They shot him 5-6 times. My grandfather, Iranian, trained in Palestine, went back to Iran, shot him. And it's very personal to me. And they also stole money from my family. And my father's side. So all around, I just want to have an Iran that has that flag behind Reza Pahlavi. And, I think that once he transitions out, and I think that's what he wants to do too. I don't know if he wants to hang in there longer than that, but
he said he doesn't. He said he doesn't. He said he doesn't want to stick around. He doesn't want to be the leader. He doesn't want to be the prince or the king or whoever, the Shah. And I think it's the right of the people to be able to vote for real. The question is, how's that going to happen? Who's going to be the setup? Who's the interim? You got to remember, it isn't just it won't be like one guy making all the decisions. You have the entire infrastructure underneath it, just like I said in America. And until that gets rooted out and gets taken care of, it's going to be a little bit of time. But if we can stop the killing right now, get rid of Khomeini, that's a massive first step.
I mean, the thing is that he talks about self-determination. Reza Pahlavi talks about free elections. Yeah. Like, he's not saying, "Oh, I'm going to go in power. I'm just going to keep it." No. Like I feel like he's sincere. Like, he went back to, for what it's worth, he went back to Iran after that regime that terrorized so many people. He was willing to go back to Iran as a pilot to fight Iraq.
Yeah.
And imagine how safe he might have even felt to go back to Iran. And he doesn't know who's going to get him. Is it going to be the Iranian terrorist foreign occupying regime, or is it the Iraqis? He was still willing to do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Ali Khamenei is the exact opposite. He's bringing in Iraqi militia to massacre the Iranians. I mean, this is like,
Yeah.
I don't even know how this is a conversation, how this guy even like, but it is. This is apparently where we are at now. And I think Trump will go down as a hero, man. I think, yeah, we'll have woke that'll attack him for the finger, for, you know, because the thought that we're not going to have any civilian casualties and this is not going to get ugly. I think war is ugly. It's just now it's like what, you know, you say like, pick your evil. It's like, what's uglier? Like, to me, that's how I look at it. Like, is it uglier to have 80,000 kids die?
You know, I saw this video.
Hold on, than 8,000. I'd rather 8,000 die than 80,000. But obviously, I don't want anybody to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I saw this video. It was heartbreaking. There was a kid. He was probably 16 years old. It was from Iran, and they pixeled his face out, and he was crying and telling his parents that he had to go fight, that he had to go to the demonstrations. He said, "How can I look at my mother and my future wife in the eye, knowing that I did nothing to save my country, that I did nothing to fight for my country? I can't even buy food for my family. I can't sit here and do nothing. I have to go. Please let me go. Please let me go." You know, I was like, wow, man, that is so heavy. A kid begging to go into certain death because he couldn't stand the fact that he wouldn't do nothing for his country and for his family. You know, I mean, that's the epitome of complete personal sacrifice. Incredible, man. It really touched me to see that kid doing that. I just, you know, that's how a lot of Americans are too, man. Back when we thought we were fighting the good war, you know, I mean, a lot after 9/11, we had the highest surge in people signing up for the military than we ever had, except for the Second World War. You know, there's something about doing the right thing that triggers a lot of people, but taking that step to actually do the right thing, not out of ideology, not out of coercion, but out of true purpose in one's heart and soul to do the right thing. And I feel like right now, from who I'm talking to, a lot of the Persians that I know, a lot of the Iranians that I know, they're in the same position, but most of them are outside of the country, and they're not going to fly in there to make it happen. Obviously, they're not flying there to go to war. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. And so it doesn't have to come to that. It really doesn't. It does not have to come to that. If they wanted right now, they could go in and take him out. I promise you. In coordination with everybody, MI6, CIA, Mossad, special ops from all different countries. They're probably already there. You know, they're probably already there. They could take him out. I'm sure they could. And there's a reason they're not doing it. Who knows what it is? But like I said, without an enemy, what do we need the military-industrial complex for? You know, and that's a lot of money, my friend. A lot of money. Look at Ukraine. Ukraine's a washing machine. They send $1 billion to Ukraine, and 999 million go back to the government contractors and the weapons manufacturers in America. You know, and the rest is to pay some locals off. It's a ridiculous game. Everybody's being fooled, but people are waking up. People are waking up. They're saying, no, none of this no more. And that's, again, we go back to Take America Back, the jointab.us. You know, we've seen through it now. No more establishment politicians, no more career bureaucrats taking our America away. It's just not going to happen. We need to take our countries back from the establishment, from the career politicians and the bureaucrats.
So I want to ask you, I don't know how familiar you are with Trita Parsi. Have you heard of him?
No.
Okay, so I want to give you a little bit of a background on this guy. So this guy, Trita Parsi. So this is how they basically fool Americans. So they have this nice friendly association, Trita Parsi does. It's called the National Iranian American Council, NIAC. And they're in Washington, D.C. And basically they have former Capitol Hill staff, and they just that are now saying that NIAC is doing all these meetings in D.C. with lawmakers, aides of Democrats and Republicans, and they're positioning themselves as like the voice of Iranian Americans, which is crazy, because and I'll tell you why, because the fact is that this organization that Trita Parsi is a part of will tell American lawmakers that Khamenei, that they want Khamenei gone. They want it replaced by like a reformist, like Rouhani. And they're saying that if you destroy the regime, it's not practical, and that reformists would negotiate with the United States, and they're going to bring some freedom, right? This is what they're doing. And it's very important Americans understand this, because what Trita Parsi wants is to preserve the Islamic Republic. And they're trying to recycle it through these so-called reformists. These reformists are not opposition. They will not dismantle this system. Okay? They won't. You're going to have the suppression. It's still going to go there. And these reformists are going to push that same agenda. So you could talk about sanctions, relief, nuclear deals. And they like to reframe these mass protests as economic reasons, not the political ones. Okay, yeah. So it's very important that when you look at Trita Parsi, just know there's no doubt about it to the Iranian community. He is anti-American, anti-Western, and anti-Israel. He is not someone that I would say you can trust. And he fools Americans, and they're funded. And I don't know how the heck this guy is even allowed in our country.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same. Look, it's the same thing. You got the extreme Islamists, you got the communists, and you got the leftists. They work together. That's what they do. You're telling me their playbook. It's just straight up. It's clear as day. If you look at any kind of anything independent, like I said, Iran in 1975 all the way to 1978 until they took over. That's what they did. And it goes all the way back to the Second World War in Russia. The same exact thing. They work together, and then when they come into power, they're going to get rid of the leftists and the communists, and they're going to take over. It's just as simple as that. It's a playbook that keeps getting over and over. And it was actually a book about it. I forget what it's called. This is just par for the course. There's enough nonprofits in America that they can funnel money through to fund this, to keep their dream alive of a leftist world. Look, I have no problem with leftist values if they were values, but they're not. They're destruction. A lot of them are destructive values, and so they're not doing something for the right reason. They're doing something to hurt somebody else so that they can get what they want. That's a completely different movement right there. And I have friends in every spectrum, and we are nonpartisan. We need to come back to a foundation of moral principles. Period. And everybody can, if we can get back to moral principles, let out personal profit, let out personal gain, let out personal outrage and bias and propaganda and the narrative following. If we can get rid of all that, which you'll never do by telling someone to get rid of it or telling someone to stop, we need to bring them back to a place where they'll organically grow into a productive person of society, regardless of what they do. And it's not going to work by screaming at each other. You got America First, you got MAGA, you got this, you got that, you got BLM, you got everybody screaming and yelling at each other. That does nothing but keeps us separated. And he's just another part of the cog. He's a big cog in the wheel. That's all it is. Same old playbook.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Trita Parsi, though, so these are some images that I'd like you to know. So Trita Parsi, the head of this, basically an IRGC-friendly organization in the United States. So I want you to know that Iranians are getting massacred with chemical weapons. Daughters are losing their lives. And Nayak, Trita Parsi's organization, he's the leader of it. Yeah, he's here having a good old time. I mean, you could just see the sort of people he's involved with and friendly with, and it's horrifying, man. It's horrifying that this is the guy that's in the United States, just like the Qatar lobby. And we can't do this in their country.
No, of course not. Just like the Muslim Brotherhood, they're in DC as well. I mean, they've infiltrated their government under Obama. It's a part of their game plan. Until we take America back, it's going to keep happening. That's all I can say. We can have outrage all we want, but we ain't changing nothing. We're not changing nothing by having outrage. We need to take action, and taking action means taking personal responsibility and moral courage and standing up and doing the right thing. And that means you have to get to work. You have to do something yourself. And it's just a hard way to put it. It's the way it is.
So basically, there's one more clip I'd like you to see before we go out of here.
Okay.
It's basic. It's a little bit gruesome, obviously. Pull this up, and I know it's late for you over there. I'll pull this up right here. Boom. I hope that didn't work. All right, here we go. All right, so here's a guy, maybe Iraqi militia. This is inside of Iran right now. Literally has a gas mask on. And you've been in combat. Could you please walk us through for people who've never served in combat? And one last thing, Matt says, thank you everyone who's reposting the stream. Big way to help us. Like, comment, repost, retweet, share it with your friends. Thank you so much. Matt says this guy who's talking about Trita Parsi, this is guy in Nyack basically serving the IRGC in the United States. Yep, you got it, Matt. Go ahead. Yeah, so could you please explain why this guy has this gas mask, potentially an Iraqi militia inside of Iran? You're a former combat vet. Could you please explain that? Walk us through.
Well, anyone wearing a gas mask is protecting themselves from gas. It could be nerve gas. It could be CS gas. Who knows what kind of gas it is. We in Iraq, we got hit with gas as well, but they didn't tell us it was gas. And when we passed out and we couldn't control our bowel movements, they told us it was dysentery. If you're wearing a gas mask, it means you're in harm's way, and it could be anything. It could be any kind of gas. Typically, what's common and what was used in Iraq against the Kurds and in Iran was nerve gas, sarin and cyclosarin nerve gas, which and I'm going to get shot for this probably, but which the nerve gas that was used against us in Iraq wasn't used against us. We actually blew up the ammo dump, and that was nerve gas that was provided to Iraq from the USA during the Iran-Iraq War. That's why this whole weapons of mass destruction thing happened, because they had to get that gas out of there before people found out it was actually American gas. It wouldn't surprise me if this was some old remnants of that.
Okay, so you served in Iraq, right?
Yes.
You're a combat veteran.
Yes.
And what do you think Ali Khamenei did? Like he just brought the Iraqi militia. You think they give him like a week of training, or they just give him the chemical weapons? Are they already trained in? Do you think it's from the Soleimani era? Maybe they already had the training, or how does this work where they just mobilize and they're just spraying chemical weapons and murdering Iranians? How does Ali Khamenei do that?
Chemical weapons are nothing other than a ballistic piece of ammunition that has chemicals in it. So it's the same thing as launching a mortar round, but it has chemicals in it. So there's no training needed. It's just be careful. Don't drop it on yourself. So you put the same round in the same pipe as you would as a normal mortar, and you shoot it over, and it's got chemicals in it. So there's no big training on that. There's obviously, they call it NBC, nuclear biological chemical training, that you go through. You have what you would call a hazmat suit, but a chemical NBC suit they call it, so that you're not hit with it. It's got charcoal on the inside, doesn't breathe, you sweat like a pig. And then you put that mask on there, you're basically a walking, bag of water, because you just sweat in there the whole time. But the militias are already trained; they're already fighting, and they're all basically, fractions of terrorist organizations, or could be terrorist organizations, and they're doing it for money. They're mercenaries. Hey, come on over, we'll give you some cash. Come on over, and make it happen, and that's what they do. Simple as that. And again, chemical weapons are the same as normal weapons; they just have chemicals in them. So there's no special training needed. Just handling them, you need some special weapons training.
All right. So like, is this something? Is this like a short supply? Do you think this is something that Ali Khamenei just has? Like, he can just easily mobilize and kill 100,000 a day, or what are we looking at here? Like, how effective and like what's the best practicality? But what do you estimate? Like, if he wanted to go all in, how many people could he massacre with these chemical weapons?
I can't say. It's just. Conventional weapons would be quicker. If he would do that, it would be quicker. But nerve gas doesn't always kill you; it maims you. Of course, there's other gases they could use to actually, end people's lives. But I can't make an estimation. I have no idea. But if someone wanted to, they could take out a 6 figures easily. If they could get a concentrated amount of people in one place, obviously, they could do that. That could happen anywhere.
Right. Okay, guys. So just so you know, Steven is literally an American combat veteran, and you're looking at footage where someone has deployed, I guess, a NPC suit or whatever that is. Why would this guy wear a suit like this in Iran if no chemical threat existed? I mean, it's pretty obvious that he's using it. I mean, it's like, why would he like just
if you have, if you look at police officers, well, if you look at police officers in Portland or something, they're wearing gas masks too because they're using CS gas, right? But he's wearing, I can't tell, but it looks like he's wearing an entire suit. Is that correct? Yeah, he's wearing an entire suit. So that means there's actually gas, there's nerve gas or some kind of gas that's topical as well. It can hurt you if it gets in through the transdermal transport through your skin. So yeah, it's more than just CS. It looks like more than CS according to what he's wearing.
You think that is like definitely a war crime though? Like, do you think this is good evidence that Ali Khamenei is actually doing a war crime when you look at a picture of this guy? And yeah, I mean, like he's wearing this mask, and
it's hard to say because it's hard to say because the police officers in front of him don't have masks on, so it's hard to say what that is.
So at this point,
yeah, it's just hard to say what it is because the police officers aren't wearing masks.
Okay, so because it's interesting because you are a combat veteran. So Ali Khamenei right now has this guy in this NBC mat suit.
You're cutting out. I can't understand.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Steven.
You're cutting out.
Am I? Dang.
Okay, cutting out.
No, I'm cutting out. Dang, I don't know why. In the chat, could you guys please let me know if you can hear me or not? You got me? Okay. So here's my question.
I got you now. Yeah.
Thank you, man. So you're a decorated Army Bronze Star veteran. You're looking at a picture of a guy in an NBC suit in Iran. This is one of Ali Khamenei's guys. My question to you is, could you please explain to everyone what crowd control doctrine would involve spraying a person on the street like this? Like when they're elevated on a vehicle like that, like what?
Sorry, I can't hear you, brother. I'm sorry.
I think in the chat it says I hear you perfectly the whole time. I think maybe it's
I know, but StreamYard always has this problem. StreamYard, it's always StreamYard. StreamYard always has a problem with this for some reason. Okay. Not sure what's going on. But StreamYard always has a problem. It's always, I don't know the two sides, but anyway, go ahead. Let's try it again. What do you got? Because you're moving now. I can see and everything. So let's try it again.
Okay, so you're a Bronze Star Army veteran. You served in the Middle East. We're looking at a picture. Okay, this is inside of Iran. Perhaps an Iraqi militia is wearing an NBC suit. And my question to you is, in a situation like this, why do you think Ali Khamenei escalated this so fast to, a chemical dispersal instead of just arresting people and de-escalating?
Because, even if he has 1,000 soldiers on the streets and you have 1 million people, there's no way that they can control that. The only way to mass control is mass sort of elimination or mass decapitation or mass sort of weapons that can stop a lot of people at one time. But again, in this picture, you see the police officers aren't wearing masks. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe he's preparing, maybe he's getting them prepared, who knows? But in order for, it's just like when the wall came down in Germany, it didn't come down because people fought for it. It came down because so many people went to the wall, the guards couldn't stop it, so they just walked right through. Suddenly 40 years of, the Berlin Wall being up just fell over in a day because enough people walked to the wall and it peacefully fell. So in order for that to not happen, Khomeini has to do probably something like this where he can affect with a small amount of action, let's say a few, dispersed rounds, can have a massive effect on a lot of people if this happened.
Okay. Thank you, Bella, for sharing it. Be the Freedom, Voice of the People, Be the Freedom, Voice of the People of Iran reposted this. Thank you, guys. Milad, thank you. BZ8, thank you for the feedback. Okay, so another thing that we're hearing about is the Kurdish, what's going on with the Kurdish people. Did you ever encounter the Kurdish when you were in Iraq or not?
Oh yeah. We set up a after the ceasefire, after we left that space, we set up a support place where we're flying food back and forth to the Kurds. Yeah. We were supporting them for Operation Helping Hand, I think it was called.
So if Ali Khamenei right now is just basically crushing these demonstrations with lethal force, right? Chemical weapons, Iraqi militia. At what point, as an American vet, what would you say? Okay, we're gonna take this into low intensity guerrilla warfare.
I don't know. I can't even say. I can't even speculate on that. It's, I don't. You mean from internal or what?
Yeah, like at what point do you think it's like the next protest is not a protest? It's just guys going out there with weaponry, right? Because I don't think that. I think at this point we've crossed the line where the Iranians actually they physically cannot go outside without getting murdered, right?
Yeah.
So like it's literally at a point where they do not have. It's not that they don't want to fight; they just don't have the weapons. I think that's the
point. Yeah,
that's the whole point of doing that.
It is. I mean, well, you were talking about the Kurds. 30% of the country is Turkish or Turk, and the remaining is Kurdish, Arabic, Caspian Sea people. So I don't know what group is going to be the one that's going to rise up, or if they're going to come together and rise up, or if they're protecting each other. I don't know what the internal politics are. Only 10% are Kurdish, Arabic, or sort of Caspian Sea type people. So guerrilla warfare is always effective because it's almost like a insurgency, little pieces at a time at strong points, weakening them, picking away at their feet, so to say, so that they fall and they're not stable. But again, they don't have weapons, and for weapons to get in there, we would have to supply them with those weapons in one way, shape, or form, if it's not already happening, right? So at what point should have happened already? If it was going to happen, it should have happened already.
Yeah, man, it's scary, man. It's scary because it's like, what's coming next for Iran? Like in the next several days. Like if you just look at the next couple of days, what's coming up? I mean,
I'm worried that people are going to start forgetting about it. They're going to get fatigued, just like they did with Gaza and everywhere else. Just like they did with Ukraine. But then you don't even hear about Ukraine anymore. People just get fatigued and then they go back to their own life again, go back to Walmart and freaking Target and buying their, party goods. It's something's going to happen ASAP.
You think it's definitely a sign though that Khamenei is losing people, that he's having to rely so much on foreign fighters?
Yeah, it's a sign, definitely a sign. It's definitely a sign that he's losing control. So yeah, there's always telltale signs, and that's one of them.
That he's losing it, right?
Yeah, that he's losing control. Yeah, when you lose control because people are defecting, that usually means that people that are still loyal are loyal because they're either in grave danger of being killed or they're being paid. And as soon as the payment stops, they're gone. And if power breaks out, maybe it's taken out, the other ones are gone. So it'll end as soon as he's ended.
Here's a little bit extra footage. One last footage here. Thank you, Suzanne Harp for Congress. CD3 reposted this stream. Thank you. Here it is. Let me see. Okay, here we go. So this is some footage. 1 second. All right. Put this back. Looking at footage from Iran. Yeah, there you go, man. There's more chemicals. I guess what they're doing there is they're putting it onto pellets.
Wow. Incredible. Horrible, man.
Yeah. So basically, what they're so I guess these are chemical warfare units of Ali Khamenei, and they're using it to terrorize basically the whole population. It's a big concentration camp at this point. And these are alleged chemical weapons and radiation. So some people are saying, I guess reports are saying that they're using shotgun pellets and they douse it in chemical substance. And the reason why Ali Khamenei has that in there is because if you survive it, you die slowly over time. And this is in Loristan. This is how evil this guy is, bro. So like, this is how it's not even like, let's just kill this guy right away. No, this guy is evil.
Yeah, I guess that goes without saying. That goes without saying.
All right, everyone. I mean, this was a fantastic. It was a dark subject. It's a very sad situation. But it was, however, everyone participating was amazing. I actually feel, bad to end this. If it's all right, Stephen, there's one more thing I'm going to ask you about, and I know it's late for you over there, man. But it's you're a popular guy. I mean, it looks like easily we have the #1 stream right now. One more question here. Good old Bushra. She's a Pakistani, and she's a Pakistani that, unfortunately, the British people. It's such a sad story. I don't know if you're familiar. You probably are familiar with it. They have all these Pakistani migrants in their country. And they have migrants like Bushra who will openly tell you in your face that she can't get deported because she was born there. So she was born there. She was born in a British hospital on British land. She has a British passport. And because of that, you can never deport her. And for the next 30, 40 years, if she wants to dedicate 6 days a week to undermining British culture, pushing hatred for British culture, tradition, laws, and customs, anything she wants, and supporting terrorism, she is entitled to that, and the British people will never, ever legally get to deport her. This is her right to undermine British culture and to destroy it and to make it into the Islamic Republic of the UK, her dream. So here she says, sorry to break it to some Iranians, you're not pro-Palestine if you align with Israel for your freedom. Full stop. Stephen, Bronze Star Army veteran, what's your thoughts on this?
What does that even matter? What does that even matter? It's like, this is the kind of shit that we don't need to hear about. This is just a distraction. That's all it is. Sorry to break it to you, Bushra. I don't care what you think. Simple as that. I'm focused on the Iranian people. You know what I mean? Like, I could care what you think. Who are you? You know what I mean? What have you ever done? What have you ever done to do anything except for raise shit online? Who cares? Seriously. I hate to break it to you too, that there's Iranians sitting there right now being shot in the head, children and women, mothers and daughters. And you're talking about some freaking narrative that no one cares about right now, right? There's people in Iran, you think they give a shit who frees them? They don't. They want to be free, period. The first cavalry that comes in and frees them, they're the saviors. Simple as that. God, this narrative has to stop, this back and forth and who's right and who's wrong. It doesn't matter. There's one thing that we know. Freedom is an inalienable human right, period. That's what we need to fight for.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that we actually have people that are, basically saying that they would support the Iranian regime. I don't know how these people have it in their heart to do that. But apparently, just so you also know, some good news, so we could actually try to leave this on a little bit of good news, because we've covered a lot. I want to put a little bit of good news for everyone here, I guess. So, because this has been a pretty dark, gloomy conversation on a Sunday. Here we have footage of Iranian state TV. One second. This is from Iran. This is on Monado. Here we go. This footage from Iran. Okay, so apparently what they did is Iranian state media has just got hacked. So they're putting Reza Pahlavi content on there. So
no.
yeah.
Wow. This is what I'm talking about. That's hope. That's hope right there.
Yeah. So one last comment here. Milad says Iranians have always been pro-Israel, full stop. Thank you, Milad. We have a good friendship with the Jews. Israel is our friend. There's no doubt about it. None of the Arab countries right now, or other than the UAE, have been supporting Iran other than Israel in the Middle East. And I'm appreciative of that. I'm definitely thankful of that. I'm not going to, what am I going to do? Cheer on Qatar, who's rooting for the Islamic. I mean, what exactly does Anna Kasparian, Bushra, Candace Owens want Iranians to do? To say, yeah, we're going to support the Islamic Republic. In what world are they in where we're going to say that? We're going to support Qatar because they're the good guys. They want Iranians to keep getting massacred and slaughtered by Ali Khamenei. In what world are they in that they would expect this? But hey, you know what? Let's not take help from the Jews. Anything but the Jews. We'd rather 3 million people die than a Jew helps the Iranian Muslim get his freedom. The Iranian Baha'i, the Iranian Christian. By the way, there's Christians in Iran.
Yeah, and Jews.
And Jews. 2,500 years. Jews in Iran have a longer history than anywhere in Europe. Jews in Iran have a longer history than anywhere in the United States or Canada. Jews have a history in Iran longer than anywhere in the world. Jews in Iran existed in Iran before Muslims arrived in Iran. Okay, so just a historical fact check. Jews existed in Iran way before Muslims did or Christians did. Okay, there was a point where there was Zoroastrian, ancient Aryan faith, and the Jews.
Yep.
That's full stop.
Yep.
So this notion of Iran is it's literally in the Bible about
but
how
even then, again, in the end, if it's Mickey Mouse and fucking Snoopy that comes in there and saves them, it doesn't matter. Who's going to save them? Who's going to step the F up and save them? That's what it's about in the end. I don't care who it is. Right? It just you like them, you don't like them, you think they look good, you think they don't look good, you think they did this, you think they did that. In the end, there's people dying on the streets right now waiting for someone to do something. That's what we're talking about right here. Who's going to do it? Who's going to step up? Who's going to be the savior? Who's going to be the one that's going there and make it happen? Come on, America.
Well, thank you so much. So Stephen, if you could please tell everyone if they want to find you, how could they? I got your Dropbox links. I got your Dropbox link so people can get involved, but on social media and so forth. Where could everyone find you, please? Yeah,
look, if you want to get involved and sort of stay, go ahead and sign up for the wait list for the book and the course under jointab.us and support us if you can. If you want to follow me on social, I'm here on X, Stephen E. Kuhn, or Instagram, Stephen Eugene Kuhn, YouTube, Stephen Eugene Kuhn, Facebook, Stephen Eugene Kuhn. It's always the same everywhere else except for X because it's too long, the name. But love to have you support us and watch what we're doing. It's amazing how many people like John Rudat just joined us. We have Ron Lynch, who did the Real RFK Jr. documentary, joined us. General Blaine Holt has joined us. We have people, Josh, our COO joined us. He's a 22-year Navy veteran. We have a lot of good people just showing up and saying, let's do the work. So if you're one of those, join us on jointab.us.
All right, thank you. We got one comment here. I feel bad not to say it. Confirmed, all Iran state TV broadcasters hacked to air messages from exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. Dang, bro. I don't know who did that, man. I don't know, man. I don't know who did that, but whoever did that was a beast. You got a prize, I think, today in the office,
Yeah.
Right? The crazy thing is that the crazy thing is that these freaks are so obsessed with Israel. These stupid dumb-dumbs. You have so many dummies that are so obsessed with Israel. They have an Israel derangement syndrome. They're so obsessed with the Jews that they don't get that it's actually Iranians that are actually helping with like on their like begging to help the United States and Israel. So it's actually Iranians that are doing most of this. The vast majority of it. It's actually Iranian. It's such a disservice. It's such a discredit. It's so dishonest to give Israel. It's like it's like the Iranians doing like 99 out of 100 of the work. Then the other guy's doing a 1, but that guy that did the 1 got all the credit.
No. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. Sorry, I had to move. I had to move. My battery's about dead, so I had to move over here. So
no, we did great, man. Thank you, Stephen, so much. Thank you. We got the join tab. Guys, that's it right there. Stephen E. Kuhn. All right, boom. Jointab.us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please help my boy here, my man. And other than that, thank you, Stephen, so much. And everyone, if you like the stream, the podcast, please share it, like, subscribe, comment. That's how you could help a lot to deliver this message. All right, we're dealing with MSM. We're dealing with the woke pagan mob here in the United States, the woke pagan evil mind virus that they have. We could use your help to get this out as wide as possible. Thank you so much. And thank you, Stephen. Have a good one. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.